Representative Tim Ryan and J.D. Vance squared off in Cleveland last night for their first statewide debate.
OU professor and the Plain Dealer columnist Thomas Suddes is here with us today to help recap the debate and explain key takeaways from the night's events. Welcome, Dr. Suddes.
It's a privilege. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for being here as well. So let me just ask you about last night's debate. What are some things that struck you the most in it?
What struck me the most was the fact that they were both so comfortable with each other. They had not been in the debate before, and I don't think they had any joint appearances before. It seemed to me they both were at ease in terms of the format and in terms of dealing with each other, even though obviously it's a very close contest right now. So that struck me right away, for one thing. And secondly, I think I have to say they both were very eloquent in their answers. I didn't think they wouldn't be, but you never know when it's a new experience for them both.
Right.
Mm-hmm. With that being said, how do you think the candidates did differentiating themselves from one another?
I think they were very successful in differentiating themselves from each other. What I think is interesting, and I think others have said this, that's not why I'm saying it though, because I think they have actually, it was a draw as far as saying who won or who lost, because I think they both were pretty effective in getting their message across. I think it's fairly clear though that their backgrounds are really different, and they emphasize that in part, and also the fact that they have distinctively different points of view about some foreign policy issues, which are crucial to the Senate anyway. So I think that was part of it as well. I think this was one of the first times, because of the advertising flood that Mr. Ryan had over the summer, Mr. Vance had a chance to kind of define himself in terms of what he was doing and saying in his campaign. I think that was very successful as well.
And now, with all of what you said, what would you say for the debate is the key takeaway for voters on both sides?
I think the key takeaway, without indicating any preference for one candidate or the other, is they're both very, very qualified people to serve. It's a question largely whether you think the qualifications are better in terms of long experience, like Mr. Ryan, or a new point of view like Mr. Vance in terms of coming to the federal Senate. I think that's one of the biggest distinctions right there. They both have compelling backgrounds. I'm from the part of Ohio Mr. Ryan's from, coincidentally, and so I'm familiar with part of that background. And Mr. Vance's book, of course, we all know is very, very powerful in itself, reading about his early childhood and his youth in Middletown. So I think it helped establish them both as, in their own way, got ahead of the advertising a little bit and got more to the individual characters of their personalities. I thought it was telling, and this is probably just a minor inconsequential side effect, that they, at the end of the debate, if you like the very last few minutes, a few moments of the recording, or not the recording, the broadcast, you saw that they shook hands with each other, and I didn't know at some points it was a pretty heated conversation, I thought. I wasn't sure how that was going to go. But it seemed to be that they were behaving in a professional manner, which is reassuring to voters. We don't want any hotheads, any more hotheads in Congress than we have now anyway. It seems to me, anyway.
Yeah, is there any other topic that struck you between the two?
It did in terms of, I thought that they were, because of the format of the debate, they really couldn't explore this too deeply, but I think there's some foreign policy issues that they touched on were very compelling, because they all involve matters of war and peace, such as Ukraine, such as Formosa, or Taiwan rather. And I think that those topics didn't get enough exploration because of the nature of the format, but I think they were very interesting to hear what they had to say about those possibilities. And I wish, just as a listener and as a voter, they said a little bit more about the possibilities of escalation in Ukraine through the Putin administration's possible use of weapons of mass destruction, and also the possibility of Chinese interference with Taiwan's government, because I think those are going to be flashpoints in the next 18 months to 24 months in our country's foreign policy. It's just an opinion. I can't tell you I have any inside information about it.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely thank you so much for being here and joining us tonight as well, to give us a little bit more insight as well.
My pleasure. Anytime. I'm so happy to see you both.
Yes, thank you so much for being with us.